Mr. Podak is absent this evening, so on roll call, Mr. Cassidy
I'm present.
and myself, the record will show that Mr. Podak is absent this evening. We have 2 months of meeting minutes to approve this evening, both May and June.
Right.
If I could have a motion to approve,
So moved.
and I will second. We will consider the minutes from May 20th, 2025 and June 17th, 2025 approved. Items for discussion, Finance Director.
Just wanted to note that our audit is wrapping up and they do have a draft of the audited financials. Those are not been released formally by the Auditor of State yet, so they're not public documents yet until the Auditor of State publishes those. As part of our wrapping up of the audit, we have the option to either have an exit conference with the auditors, or we can waive that exit conference. They had no findings. There are no management letter comments. So my recommendation, but again, it's your discretion, would be to waive the exit conference since there's not really any follow-up questions, at least from my perspective, but I don't want to speak on behalf of Finance Committee.
I reviewed the package. Everything's on the up and up. Everything's very straightforward. I see no reason to do that. And I would further recommend that you and the chairman of our Finance Committee, Ms. Lehman, just go ahead and sign off on it if you want.
I suppose in that case, we should have a motion,
I will make that motion.
and I will second.
And that's to waive the exit.
Correct, to
Conference.
waive the exit. And then I will just sign the document. I do want to take a moment to just say, I know you're too humble to say so, but
It
very,
was,
very nice job by you and your staff.
yeah, the team, so we had new auditors. We had to put it out for proposal. Charles E. Harris had been here in the past, but it's been 5 years, and it went smooth. And we were anticipating a lot more work because whenever you switch auditors, you have the learning curve and people look at things differently, but everything did go very smooth. And the staff in the office did a great job of pulling all the information together for them. So
If the scenario had been different, if there had been serious comments or questions, recommendations, then maybe a conference would have been appropriate, but we're
correct.
no need to waste time.
Well, Mr. Dandrian, would you please pass along to your staff our appreciation for their hard work on
We can
throughout
do
the
that.
year?
Thank you. Appreciate that. I did provide you June reports. At the end of June, we did have $22.9 million in our balances across all funds. The general fund had $12 million in it, of which $1.8 million has already been encumbered for projects and things that we've committed to all for the year. Of the $22 million at the end of June, 7.3 million, almost 7.4 million has been encumbered with open purchase orders. So that's a lot of projects in the works. We have some big ones going on with the splash pad, with the airport terminal, the inclusive playground. So there's some large items out there. Our emergency action plans that we're putting together for stormwater. So a lot of dollars are being committed, and the work's taking place, so I'm going to start getting bills. And I saw this week, I think we're going to have almost $400,000 in payables. So that's just an indication of how the activity picks up this time of year. On the revenue side, I provided you a 4-page summary of our revenues. And across the board, revenues are trending better than expected. Paul Allen, you'll be happy to know that our income tax revenue is up 6.5% year to date through June. So from a revenue perspective, we're doing fine. Happy to report the water fund is starting to look healthier, I should say. And the rate increases, if you remember, we didn't get a rate increase put through in the first part of last year. It didn't hit until the second half. So our revenue looks exceedingly aggressive, but it's not, because what it's reflecting is we had an increase in July 1st, another one January 1st, and we had gone a year and a half without an increase. So it will start to flatten out. What is misleading, though, is in the sewer revenue fund. We upgraded our utility software last August, and we bill for stormwater and water compliance fees once a year in May. Through the conversion, the billings are going out correctly and are showing us stormwater and water compliance fees. However, when they're actually paid, they're being paid into the sewer fund, not the stormwater fund. So we're working with CMI, our software people, to capture how many dollars were recorded in the sewer revenue that need to get moved to the stormwater fund. I'm estimating for this year it's about $150,000. But again, the sewer fund's starting to look much more healthy, even with taking that 150 and transferring it back into the stormwater. So that was the primary things that we noticed when reviewing revenue through the first 6 months. On the expense side, we are running below budget so far, but again, it don't think we're doing tremendous on our budgets. We struggle, and Eric just gave me grief today that why didn't I load it in the budget? I missed it again. But all our activities starting to come to fruition. So we're going to start to see the budgets get pushed a little bit harder and a little bit closer to the vest here in the second quarter or the third quarter, and certainly in the fourth. A couple of items to notice in the general fund: our debt service line item on the report shows 71% of the budget being spent, and that is what goes in there are our our transfers and advances to other funds. And anytime we have like the terminal grant, so the airport terminal, that's a federal aviation grant, we have to advance money out of the general fund into the grant fund because we have to pay for the expenses and then get reimbursed. We have a number of grants like that this year, and so we had to advance those other funds. We did that all up front at the beginning of the year, so a majority of it. So that's why you see 71%. You would think through half the way through the year, you'd only be 50%. The other item there is the other expenses at 90%. In the general fund, the primary thing in that other expense is the $600,000 a year that we transfer from the income tax revenue. So by law or by legislation, $600,000 of our income tax revenue automatically gets transferred to other funds. This year, what we did, instead of doing it $50,000 a year, we moved all $600,000 once we had received at least that much in income tax receipts. And the reason we do that is those other funds have to commit some dollars. Part of it goes into capital infrastructure. We needed to commit those dollars to get those projects up and running. So we just moved the money there up front since we had it. So it makes it a little funky looking in comparison, and why we're at 90% of budget only 6 months through the year, but all explainable. And that's all I have.
Okay. I have a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I apologize if I've asked this before, but in my experience, salary and fringe benefits usually pretty much walk hand in hand. And so while our salaries, let's just looking at general fund, are running at 48%, which is pretty much on target, our fringe benefits are only at 34%. So is there something that gets paid once a year or something that would trail further behind?
It could be the unemployment.
Okay.
I'm not unemployment, workers' comp.
Okay, yeah.
Workers' comp, because we do that once a year.
Yeah, and it's prospective now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
pardon me? Oh, there you go. You answered my question. Thank you. Yes, that would make complete sense. The other question I have is, and you kind of touched on it when you discussed your debt service.
Mm-hmm.
So it's no secret among these folks that I'm anxious for us to exit fiscal emergency, and we're having a meeting this week with the state. The one thing that's keeping us in this position is our water fund. So I was looking at the water fund and I was trying to come up with how much do we have in reserves as far as cash days or months. And I couldn't decipher by the budgeted amount if that's going to be true, because it's escalated this year, if that's going to be a true amount, or if there were some, I assume that there are some of those grants that are moved in there and then budgeted in that, and then they'll come out later.
I'm not sure how best. So when we budgeted for the water fund, based on everything we wanted to do and what we had forecasted for revenue coming in, we anticipate that we would be pretty close to break even, maybe a couple $100,000 in that account. At the end of June, there's $798,000 in that account. But that's not to say we're not going to have more POs to encumber. We have $1 million in our budget yet that we haven't spent, and only $798,000 in the balance. So it's difficult to want to give you a benchmark on how to.
Yeah, I apologize if I sounded like I wanted that number right now, because that wouldn't be fair to you, nor do I expect that. But because we're meeting with them and we're signing a new engagement letter for another year, I'd like to start some dialogue with them about where we believe we will be in regard to those water funds and what we anticipate our reserves to be maybe at the end of this year, to kind of get those discussions flowing about, could this be our last year? We will be signing an engagement letter next year. So I apologize if
I understand where you're going.
Okay. Because I tried to do it and I thought, there could be some stuff built in here in the budget that's going to clear itself out.
Yeah, let me go back and do a little homework on that, because I believe our expenses were fairly accurate on the expenses. If anything, we've shortened ourselves too much this year.
Okay.
And that's why we've come back and asked for more dollars. We try specifically in those water and sewer funds to be pretty diligent, because there's not a lot of extra money.
Right.
You can't just go grab it from somewhere else. So if we're going to be ahead, it'll be because our revenues exceeded our expectations.
Okay.
It won't be because we spent significantly less, because
it'll be on the revenue side.
It'll be on the revenue side.
Okay. Well,
part of that equation, though, is how lucky or unlucky that the city is. Broken water lines and some of those things that we all drive around town. That's a major investment for the community we never really see until the water starts bubbling up out of the ground, and that means that we've got another expense. So.
Okay. Items for discussion, Mr. Mayor? No? Safety Service Director?
Well, just to jump on some of the stuff that Steve said, we're having these meetings and continue to have them, the mayor and Steve and department heads, and we're talking about all of the upcoming big projects that we know that we need to get done, and trying to put numbers on those things so that we can get a good grasp of just what kind of projects we're looking at, what kind of dollars we're looking at. So those continue. We had meetings last week, have another one or two this week to continue those conversations, having the department heads in to talk about the equipment that they need for next year. So yeah, I think that will all go into what next year's rates look like, really, because of the amount of projects that we do need to do. Mm-hmm. And then just something to make you guys aware of. I have with me tonight an estimate for a new sweeper, and we had planned to buy a new sweeper next year, but unfortunately the sweeper that we have, we're having trouble keeping it on the road, and we have some pretty talented mechanics, but I think we've gotten to the point where we're going to have to look to replace this sweeper sooner than next year. So we're looking at roughly $350,000 unit. We're looking at both options of either buying it straight out or some financing. I'll let the guy with the mind for the financing work on that with us. But the people that deal with this thing the most have found the unit that looks like it makes the most sense. And so now we're going to figure out what's the best way to get it. And we'll probably be coming back with I assume, some legislation for the next city council meeting where we can get this thing purchased so we can get that old one out of our hair and get this new one on the road. Because we do have some EPA requirements. We have to sweep a certain amount of number of streets every year and have to make note of that. So I don't know if there's anything else you have for that, Steve, but.
This will be a topic at the commission meeting next week as well. Especially, and what I'm hoping to have before next week are some leasing numbers, just so we can understand what it would look like. We do have the cash available to purchase it if we had to purchase it, but if we can lease it for a reasonable rate, that might be something we want to do so that we can preserve some of that cash for some of our capital projects on the street side of things. We are somewhat wanting to get it done quickly from the perspective of once we get to fall and we get leaves, the EPA issue gets a little bit more important than right now. So it's not.
I think that the public has to understand when we're on this subject that we're not buying a street sweeper just to make Fostoria look pretty. I mean, it's got a real important function in this community to keep the stuff from going down in the sewer system, creating costs there for clean out.
Yeah, it is part of the original consent decree from the EPA. So there is a requirement that we sweep a certain number of streets every year. And the street sweeper person has to make sure they document when they sweep those streets. This unit is, I think, just about 10 years old, and these days that's just about the life expectancy of these units. Yeah.
So this brings up another subject everybody's tired of hearing me talk about probably, but
Never, Greg.
We got a goose problem out at the reservoirs. We have a number of citizens that walk that every day. And people are getting a little bit angry about the fecal matter on the paths and stuff that you can't hardly dodge anymore. So it would be good if in your purchase of a sweeper, you get something that's going to be functional up there and make a pass every so often up there.
Well, as a matter of fact, we had that conversation today, anticipating this conversation at this meeting. And from what the guys that have been looking at it believe that with this unit, the side brushes could potentially be pulled up, and it may be a small enough unit that it can go around the walking trail at 2 and 3. So we're doing a little further investigation of that and see if
on a positive note, I've been trying to play down the negatives and try and enhance the positives of the goose crap there. It's a perfect way to hone your skills of agility, dodging the stuff. So
that's how I use it. High stepping through the geese population. But potentially this thing will fit. So we're doing a little more investigation of that.
We've been through a lot of tough financial times, and this is just another classic example that you've gotten everything you could out of some of this equipment. It gets to the point that it does not make sense to put the money down to keep patching it up when you need to just get rid of it, bite the bullet, start over with new equipment.
Yeah, but I think that's where we are, Greg.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Okay. Committee members? Do you have anything else that you would like to share, Mr. Cassidy?
Well, I noticed in going over the revenue comparisons and everything that the open enclosure of graves is down about 15%. So apparently our population isn't leaving Fostoria as fast as it was.
Very astute.
I thought that was very
That
good.
missed my observation. Anything else?
No.
Okay, I just
Excuse me,
had,
Sue, I just had one other thing. On the agenda tonight, if Finance Committee could take the lead, we're missing an agenda item for a then now purchase orders. That was that piece of legislation I
the
sent.
other item get added,
The other item is added, but the then now is not. So if that could get added to the agenda,
and you need both of those as an emergency.
please.
Okay.
Thank you.
We can do that. I was wondering if we had an update on our banking RFP. Have we sent that out or?
It has not been sent out. The only reason it hasn't been sent out is because in May, West Banco did the merger, so there were no analysis statements. And I'm trying to get 3 months worth of analysis statements.
Okay.
We did get June's, so now I have it. They usually don't generate till the 7th or 8th of the following month. So now I have it. Maddie's been nice enough to go through those and block out all proprietary information. So it's just our activity, so the banks can look to see how much activity we have so they can quote appropriately. So those will go out yet this month.
Great. That was the only thing that I had. Is there anybody from the community that would like to speak on finance-related items? Hearing none, I would ask for a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and I will second. We are adjourned at 5:52.